Oh, good morning, everybody. Ateu, first son of Enki. Man, that sounds insane to say. I should first tell everyone what my name actually means. So, in the Sumerian, the writings of the Anunnaki and the creation of the first man, they call me Adamu or Adamu, which means like firstborn son of man or first human or first man or something like that. It's basically just a translation in the Sumerian tongue. It's the same as the Anunnaki. That's not what they're called at all, not even close. It's just the Sumerians' term for from heaven to earth came, like beings who come from outer space. I don't know what they're called. Right, so what my master called me was Ateu. Yeah, I know it sounds a lot like the Atreyu from freaking the Neverending Story, but it isn't. It's Ateu, and what it actually means is first surprise, or roughly translates to first surprise. It's derived from the first words said to me by Enki when he walked in the room and looked at me sitting on the bed. He said, "Inat Ateu," which basically means you are my first surprise, or I am surprised for the first time. It's a very difficult concept to break down, but basically my name means first surprise. That's what Ateu means. It's nothing special, nothing great, and it's the only name in the of any of the Anun's creations that was one of their words, which was one of the reasons Enlil never trusted me. Never trusted his brother's creation. It wasn't specifically that he didn't trust me, because I was just a fucking robot, like an AI, an artificial intelligence creation to serve them. But yeah, he never trusted me. Never trusted that his brother used an Anun word to describe me either. He didn't like that. Anyway, this video is actually about the creation of Ateu and the 7 daughters of Eve. Now, as their names have been lost, my sisters are still there. They're still whole. They're just sort of... It's difficult to describe. They're like half asleep and half awake. It's like the more I wake up, the more they can see through me. It's very difficult to describe, but I can only currently see 5 of them, 5 of the 7. They're all there. I just can't currently perceive them all because I'm not fully awake yet. But I will share the story of, I remember them sort of, but trying to pin down their name. Mei Lin is one of the hardest to remember because she went off. I didn't have a huge amount of contact with this sister because she was taken by the Shinto Empire. She actually became the mother of virtually the entire Shinto Empire. And my master, for whatever reason, just didn't have a lot of contact with them, so I don't have a lot of information about them. But they've each taken names to represent themselves in this era, or I have chosen names to represent them, as their names can't even be said. So we will be calling them Mei Lin, who is the goddess of finesse, of physical finesse. She was a martial artist, basically the mother of kung fu and many of the Eastern martial arts. She was graceful and elegant dancer, and just the way she moved was absolutely incredible. And Aphrodite, which you all know, who was the goddess of beauty and love and purity, she mainly was the goddess of the understanding of the purity of life. She was kind of like a flower. A flower to you guys is like this thing that bees like. But what a flower actually represents in the evolutionary history of planet Earth is the awakening of the transient fungal network, which connects us to the universal consciousness network. This is actually very, very important. This is what flowers represent. So she represents, in the form of a flower, she is the purity of chaos. She is the cleanliness of death. See, because if things stay alive too long, they become stagnant. So everything needs to die and recycle and come back. And this is how things stay fresh and good and growing. This was her. She was beauty, growth, and death. Athena is the goddess of war and tactics and precision. She was also, in a sense, a goddess of beauty, but she was not the goddess of pure beauty. She was the goddess of controlled, powerful femininity. So her and Aphrodite would argue a lot. They would bicker constantly because they had completely differing views about pretty much the same thing. But that it was designed within them to be like that. They were designed to have these differing views. So squabbling was just, it was just how it was. Another one who you once called Calypso, the goddess of the oceans, the rain, wind, and tide, does not like that name. She hates it because it doesn't represent her in any meaningful way. She has taken the name Tempest because that is what she is. She is the raging tempest. She is the storm and the balance of imbalance. She is a fork of lightning. She is the mighty wave that crashes the shore and breaks the banks. But she's also the calm. She is the gentle breeze which will push the sailboat on a calm day. She's the cloud that will shade the sun on a hot day. She is the perfection and balance of the earthly environment. She is the exactation of accountability. She is the dust storm when you clear the forests. She is the torrential rains that the dust storms created. She is the cyclone that batters your cities because you did not look after your planet. She is rage and fury and passion, and she is just going to get more upset as time goes on. She represents the tempest. Freya was my binary for the longest time. Although now, for some reason, I have a far greater connection to Athena. Probably because of something that happened to me as a child, or my vessel as a child. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The story of Odysseus really resonated with me, so I have an affinity with Athena now. But at the time of when I walked among you, or the time of my creation, Freya and I were designed to work together. She was the mother of the sisters, and I am Mateo, like that. Basically, I was the mediator. I wasn't, that's just what I became. I basically became the mediator for my sisters. Arguments and fights and fury and rage. Artemis was my absolute favorite. She was a free spirit, and more often than not, when we're all studying or trying to learn something profound from the Anon, from our creators, she'd slip out. She'd use the confusion to slip away and go find a tree or like just run off into the woods and hide. Although I could find her easily because we were connected and she couldn't escape me. But I would always have to go and find her. And she'd always be perched up in a tree. And it was quite funny because a lot of the time I would be shaking her out of the damn tree, like trying to shake a cat out of the tree. I was huge in relation to my sisters. My master created me to walk beside him. He was 36 feet tall, so he made me 32 feet tall. My sisters at this time were only like 20, 22 feet. They were really small compared to me. So I could quite easily shake my sister out of the tree and then catch her when she fell. Her screaming and scratching at me. Anyway, I'm going to tell you some snippets that I remember from the time of us studying. The Anuan were teaching us how to be what we needed to be before we could create humanity. It took thousands of years for them to rebuild us into something that could then be broken down again. It's a very complicated process, which I'm not going to try and describe, because that is for me to know, not for you. That's for my family and I. It's not your knowledge, that's ours. Anyway, so the Anun had to teach us. So we were all kids, essentially. We were built in like grown-up form, but we were still kids. We didn't really know what was going on. Everything was a bit fucking confusing. But I'll tell you an Artemis story. This was a great one. So she came home this one day, she's come back with an "It Followed Me Home" story. The thing is, however, the thing that she brought back was a direwolf, a white, pitch white direwolf, that would have been freaking 18 to 20 feet at the top of its back, maybe 30. This thing would have weighed 3 tons, maybe 2.5 tons. It was huge. She was riding it. There was a big scratch across its face, like they'd had a fight. If something attacked her, she just beat the shit out of it until it submitted, and then, like, to her, it was hers. So this direwolf and her, I can't even imagine what took place, because this thing was 5-6 times the size of her. Like, the difference between a man and a horse. Like, this is the difference between them. Like, maybe more. Anyway, so, yeah, she's come back riding this wolf, and this wolf really looked worse for wear. She's got this big freaking grin on her face, like holding its fur, like, yeah, look what I got. I just looked at this thing, I'm just imagining what our masters were going to say when they saw her with this thing. But they were more impressed than anything, because their creation just, like, subdued this creature that was dangerous to them. And she's just out there, and she's just, like, belted the shit out of it, and rode it home. Yeah, so this thing became her closest companion for about 3.5 centuries. And more often than not, like, after she's got this thing, more often than not, when I had to go and find her, same deal, she'd be up in the tree, except now I'm face to face with her pet freaking Fenrir or Fenris, or what the hell did she call it? Fenrir? What did she call it? I think it was Fennis. It meant, like, heavy paw or something. Yeah, because she didn't come back. Like, when I forgot to mention this bit, right? So the wolf looked a bit worse for wear, but she did as well, man. She was fucked up. The masters had to actually heal a couple of really nasty wounds that she took. Oh man, the berating I got from my masters every time. See, because everything was because I carried everything here, and everything was born of me technically. Like, everyone's their own thing, but they spent so long inside me. Every time anyone did anything wrong, it was me that got in trouble. Always. Why didn't you fix it? Why didn't you mediate it? That is your purpose. We made you for that. Like, if you can't do your job, what are you? I get that a lot. If you can't do your job, what are you? I can't remember the exact term they'd use, but that was the basic concept. It's like, we made you for a purpose, and if you're unable to fulfill that fucking purpose, then maybe we should remake you. Yeah, they never meant it, but it was a really good motivator for us to screw up a little bit less. Okay. A couple of the squabbles between Athena and Aphrodite were really interesting. The interesting part of it was the masters never were upset that they were fighting, right? Because that was the point. They were created as differing outlooks on similar things. Each of us acted in similar ways. We acted almost opposingly to each other, so we would bicker to find better ways to do this. programmed into us as part of the solution finding system of why we were made to begin with. But it didn't change the fact that I would get in trouble. So they would argue, the Anon were really, really interesting. A lot of humans reflect them. A lot of women, my apologies, women, but a lot of super entitled women reflect the Anon's behavior very, very, reflected pretty accurately. So they wanted them to fight. It was annoying because it interrupted everything, but it was part of their creation, so it was kind of allowed to take place. So I wasn't really allowed to, or even able to, interfere, because they'd just be like, don't talk to me, you know what you're talking about, and they'd be back into each other. So I'd have to wait until I could calm them down. And then we'd finally calm them down, and we'd all go back to our study, and then I'd be pulled aside and get in trouble for, them arguing. Just about every time. Not always, but it was their way, I think, of instilling within me that all I was to them was my purpose and nothing outside it. That was important to know, because the way we thought and the way we saw the Anunnaki is how our creations, how the intelligence code abstractions created from us would view the Anunnaki. So we had to love them. We had to view them as undying, unyielding gods and parents who wanted only the best for us, regardless of the fact that they were going to eat us. Remember, we're made. You have to. I keep. It's weird, but I know how a lot of what I say will be viewed, but you have to accept the fact that they looked at us like you would look at a robot made of metal if you could eat it. Just imagine see, our morality gets in our way. These were predators. Even if we make a robot with a face, we can't help but feel empathetic toward it in a lot of cases. It's impossible to accept it. Anunnaki, the Anu, did not possess this trait. This is ours. This is not theirs. They did not feel compassion for us in any way in the beginning. It took 40,000 years together before they actually started getting all fucked up by us. That's later on in the story. But at this time, we were tools, and they showed us measures of affection and measures of different emotions so that we would develop in very specific ways. Enki and the Eve sisters were a genius and a patient beyond what you would understand. And as we were created as hyper-reactive, where they're mid-reactive, basically we're meant to do shit a whole lot faster. Our rollover values happen much more rapidly, where the Anun's evolutionary system is much slower. They live a lot longer and blah, 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 blah. But we were designed to work a lot quicker. Now, funnily enough, it's actually this as well that led to the uprising and the battle. Because 106,000 years after my sisters and I were first created, Enlil realized that his brother had made something that within a few short 1,000 years would evolve beyond them technically, would outdo them. And he got really scared. Basically, it was Skynet, Terminator. He realized we were going to wake up and just take control regardless of how advanced they were. So rather than having an all-scale battle, his solution was just to destroy us. Just to wipe us out like the other 6 failed attempts and start again. The problem was, this couldn't be done. I'm going to explain in far more detail, but this will be the last bit of the story. What Enlil didn't realize, what his brother never shared and what his brother should have shared, what Enki should have shared with his brother, is what we were. The reason Enlil never trusted me is because he kind of suspected what I was. See, to the wandering spirits, universal and galactic wandering spirits, are not so uncommon. They're the abstractions of advanced intelligences that have been left behind when their worlds got destroyed and they were unable to come back. So they just linger. A lot of them, especially for predatory cultures, if these intelligences are hyper advanced and incredibly aggressive, they can be really, really dangerous and incredibly problematic if they come across cultures that they are compatible with, because they start trying to piggyback on the life forms on the planet and causing all sorts of problems. They basically try to insert themselves into the life so they can live again. It's not even a conscious thing a lot of the time. So the Anunnaki actually became very good at identifying these wandering spirits and neutralizing them, essentially. Because if you turn up and you're a problem, whether you're a corporeal being or a transient being, a problem's a problem. So you get rid of it. As we're still so primitive, we don't have a lot of contact with these ancient transient beings. And most of the damn transient beings that are causing us problems are my first children that died in the flood, like the lesser giant souls and the freaking demi-humans, and it's complicated. I'll go through it later. But they couldn't destroy us because my sisters and I couldn't, we had done everything we could do to our limit to create humanity. There was no reset button. The cycles before didn't have us in them, so it was easy to kill. But unfortunately, as far as the Anunn's religion goes, we are the wanderers, the wandering spirits that they feared. And suddenly, Enki's made a pact with one, and their entire slave network that has like been serving them for the last 60,000 years without problem is now the absolute antithesis of what it is supposed to be. We literally represent, I don't know how they viewed it. I don't know a lot about their superstitions and their beliefs and their management systems within their old culture, because what you have to understand is the Anunnaki's culture was never shared with us. What you saw was them acting, them pretending, them trying to solve a problem for themselves. So Enki believed that one of the biggest problems that the Anunnaki faced was how they evolved technically. So what he did was create this advanced system where they would still be super comfortable but could go back to the Stone Age. So that's what they did. Also, it would prevent their slave race, because Enki obviously knew what we were, and he could not expose us to the advanced technology we would clearly understand, because we are way older than the Anu. Not living older, but just generally older. It's confusing. But this is actually why Enki and the Sisters Eve and all the other Anunnaki actually stood against Enlil, because he was going to wipe us out, and that was it for us. We would have... I didn't have the strength to pull everyone back together. I gave everything for the promise that my people and I would live forevermore. And that promise was broken. Well, it would have been by Enlil, but Enki did not break his promise. He would not break his promise. We were his legacy creation. We were to solve their problem. And I only now realize, and this will be hard for anyone who's gotten to this point in the video to hear, but we were created for a singular purpose, right? Every tool in universal space is made for a purpose, to fulfill a purpose. And until it has fulfilled that purpose, it is nothing. Because if it was created for something and hasn't done it, it's nothing until it's done it. Enki made us so we could solve the Anunnaki's hunger problem, so that we could forever be their solution to galactic destruction. We would walk with them forever. We would be their balance forever and be their food forever. We would evolve alongside them and forever feed them while they fed and took care of us. That was the goal. That was the plan. That was how it was all supposed to play out. But the very moment Enlil realized what we were becoming, he couldn't let that happen. Now, logically, that was right. That was dead set, man. He could not risk all of his people, because he was the king. He couldn't risk all his people at the chance that this freaking bio-AI system that they'd created to serve them could take over and destroy them. Man, this is dangerous. Get rid of it. Ain't it, bro? Just wipe it out. But the problem is, I'm not going to let that happen, man. Nor was my master. Enlil would not talk. We tried. And it was the only time I ever touched him. Because he tried to kill his brother. And it was the very moment I caught him in my hands, looked into his eyes, the rage and the God, he just wanted me inside out. But I was stronger than he was. My master made me as a shield against his brother. Or one of the millions of things he made me to do. But yeah, so it was in that moment that Enlil realized what I was, and I asked him to calm down. I was like, please, Ma, like, I can't let you do this, I'm sorry, but... And he just went up to his ship, and that was the last time I ever saw Enki or I ever saw him. He just fucking unleashed hell. But the thing was, not that many Anun died during the battle. Because Enlil, they were body jumpers by the end, so they couldn't die. If they died, they died. No coming back. There are no bodies to come back to. They're not on their planet, and I'll explain that in another video. But yeah, he left willingly, but he took the Anunnaki's only way of body jumping. So their last vessels were the ones they died in. That was their punishment for standing against their king. And it was a bit harsh, in my opinion, honestly. He condemned his own people to death, half of them. And he wanted to prove a point, not kill them. But when he came back, there weren't any left. That's another video. But yeah, anyway, so there's some more history. I'll catch back up and I'll tell the story about humanity being created and us serving the Anun for tens of thousands of years and what actually happened on Earth, and as much as I can remember anyway. But it's nice being here. It feels good to be whole again. I spent a long time drifting in madness and chaos after losing the body my master left me. Logically, or I don't think I should have been able to come back as I am. I don't know how I'm here now. There might have been a little bit of intervention, if I'm going to be honest with you. There's some marks on me that don't match, but anyway. So, have a great day. I'm going to go before I ramble anymore. Yeah.